Hi, I'm Kim Blasiak. I'm the Outreach Coordinator for New York State PTA. We're doing something a little different this year with the cancellation of our convention. We are now doing our workshops online. It's going to be fun for you guys because you don't have to worry about looking presentable. You can sit and dress in your jammies and watch this workshop. Hopefully you're watching this workshop, but we're all making the best of it and we're getting used to it. So let me share my screen. Okay. So my workshop is on the T and PTA, so working as a team during the pandemic and pretty much how we're supporting our teachers. So I know we need to support our students as well. And I'm not saying not support the students, but sometimes our teachers need just a little bit extra. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so T and PTA working as a team. Now, if I keep looking over, I'm only looking at the timer, so I apologize. So, teaching in 2020. First of all, 2020 has been one of those years. We've all seen the memes, we've all said things ourselves. This is, I mean, it started with Australia on fire, so that should tell us something. But teaching in 2020. So roughly March of 2020 of this year, that's when COVID really started to put a stop to learning at home. So that's when the governor finally decided to shut things down. That's when schools were closed. That was it. They sent our students home. They sent our teachers home. Anything that was at school, it's kind of tough luck on you. And we started our new normal. So our teachers, once we found out from Governor Cuomo that we would be home for a little while longer, and you all know we went on a two-week to two-week basis for a while, teachers had to do a very quick turnaround and learn a whole new way of teaching because you had schools upon schools of students at home and they still needed to learn. They weren't finished with their year. So teachers had to essentially start from scratch. I mean, there are veteran teachers, new teachers that went to school for this and had to create something out of the air, and give them massive credit for that. But that had to be very hard recreating your job, especially still within the school year. So our teachers, a lot of them had no plan, no procedures, and no support. So by no plan, a lot of districts didn't have time to implement a COVID plan in place for anything that may come down the pipeline. So it may be something that they were just starting to do once they started to see what was going on with other districts and with the country and the state, and they just didn't get a chance to because of COVID. Procedures, like I said, this is something totally different. So this isn't something that we're going to have procedures in place. So teachers didn't have anything to kind of step back to that and look. And the support, when I say the support, it's not mean in that way, but when you think about it, everyone was trying to figure out how to help their students. And yes, teachers would work as teams to get things done, but a lot of times administrators, districts were just trying to keep their head above water and try to figure out, okay, who needs Chromebooks, who needs devices, who needs internet access, how are we going to do this, who's going to pay for this, are we following all of the procedures that we're supposed to. So many different people had so many brand new roles. So the norm within the school system shut down essentially. And when teachers did this, they did this on their own. So massive credit to them. Now, this isn't just in teaching, this is with all of us, with our students, families, everything. We had a new set of anxieties and fears because, as you all remember, when this started, as we gradually started to hear about the school districts that may have had one case, first of all, we never found out who the case was, which is understandable and should be, and it's fine. But you worried because you were seeing all of this happen in other countries, and you're thinking, "Oh my God, this is awful. So what's going to happen if it hits my kid and my family? And teachers and staff were going into the buildings and they were worried because they have families at home, or they may be immunocompromised, and this was all new. So there were a lot of fears and a lot of anxiety that was brought on by this. Now, teacher shortage. We were already discussing this over the last couple of years within different groups, definitely within New York State PTA. But now when you think about it, a lot of people don't want to go into teaching right now. And when you throw in the possibility of teaching within a building to students who may or may not be practicing safe distancing and proper protocol at home, that's very nerve-wracking. I have been on calls with teachers before who have said they have no choice but to go to work because they're the main source of income for their family. Yet at home, they may have elderly parents that they're worried about, that they go to school and they're worried that what if a parent or a family sends in a sick child? Because our days of, and I'm guilty of it too, our days of, okay, well, there's no fever and there's just a leaky nose and they might be just a little off, but they can still face it and they can go to school. Now you cannot do that. You cannot send your child to school. So teachers just, they not only don't want to deal with this, but they can't deal with this. They have to worry about that. And substitute teachers. There is a massive lack of substitute teachers also. So even if teachers had to take some time, and a lot of times they have to take time for training, they can't even take the time, or people are scrambling because they don't have the teaching resources, and it's just getting worse and worse. Now, I touched on this a little earlier. There's a different family dynamic because we are all very aware that when this all came about and this all started and our kids were sent home and our spouses were sent home, March 12th, my kids came home. March 15th, my husband came home. And I know the dates because they did not leave for a long time. And it's the same for our teachers and for our staff. So a lot of them, not only were they trying to relearn their way of teaching, but they also had to worry about their own children who were now learning from home, who didn't get that one-on-one support or that engagement with teachers or staff at school that they're normally used to. And you also have adults at home who may be working virtually, who may have been laid off, who may have been completely let go. So there are different family dynamics across the board. But that had to be, I mean, it's well for everyone, but for teachers that had to be very stressful because they probably felt in a lot of ways that they were being pulled between their students and their family. And there were no proper goodbyes. And we all know that at the end of the year, our kids get excited. It's the end of the year, they get their summers, but you miss all of those different things. So the schools miss like any events that you may have had for years upon years, any traditions. You miss the goodbyes with all the teachers waving goodbye at the end of the year. Your kids just miss that closure. The teachers miss that closure. It's really hard. You don't really think about it until your students go back and you think, wow, we just left, like papers on the desk, that was it. We were gone. And it's very sad because not only do our students need that closure, but our teachers do. Our teachers work hard with our students, and being able to go through those yearly traditions and end of year activities and moving up days, that's a huge deal. And by just not having that, that's very difficult. That is very difficult. So how can we help? How can we as parents help? And how can we as teachers, well, I'm not a teacher, how can teachers help as well? So we're all facing a new normal. So we need to not only support our children, but we need to support our teachers as well, because they are struggling. And when I say this, I'm not implying that parents and caregivers, adults at home, are not struggling. We're all struggling. And teachers right now, it's very scary. They worry about their own children now who may have had to go back to school, and if anything's going to happen there, and what happens if their children are around someone who may have been exposed. Then are they going to be home? Are their children going to be okay? So we need to make sure all members of the team are okay. And by team, any adult that works with your child, they're part of your team. You're part of the team. Anyone who is active with your child, we are a team. We're all a team. And that is to support our children. So again, how can we help? Have some patience. This is difficult for all of us. We all understand that this has just been, our worlds have been rocked. And we need to have patience with our students, with our children. And that's very hard. As a mom of 4, I can tell you it is very, very hard to have patience sometimes. But they're students. A lot of times they're little. They don't get it, as my kids are running. So just cut them some slack sometimes, and just understand that they're trying, but not only for the students, do that with the teachers as well, and teachers for parents as well. Understand that we're all in a stressful situation, and we all need to just have a little patience and show each other a little grace. So check in with your child's teacher or teachers. I'm not saying have a million emails going back and forth, but now we know that there are a ton of ways to interact with your child's teacher. So at the beginning of the year, they will usually give you an email address. They will give you their number at school and tell you what hours work for them. Sometimes they'll give you their cell number or home phone number, as long as you don't abuse it, and seriously never abuse it. And they may say, just shoot me a text or just shoot me an email. And now we also have a million apps. So we have Remind, we have Blooms, we have Seesaw. We have a lot of different ways where our teachers can connect with us and connect with families. So we're all on the same page working together for our students. But check in with your teachers. Every once in a while, just say, hey, just checking in with you. How are you doing? Do you need anything? Are you good? Just want to make sure that you're okay. So that's my son in the background with his evil laugh. So a positive attitude. This is very difficult at times for all of us, especially when you're working all day and you hear your children and they're so frustrated and they don't know what else to do, and you just feel that heaviness with them and you see it. You need to have a positive attitude, because our kids, are going to model what we're all doing. So if we are sitting there as adults in the home saying, oh my gosh, this is awful. I can't believe it. Your teacher's not helping you at all. This is terrible. Why are you doing this? I just don't want to bother at all. They're going to pick up on that. They're going to pick up on that. If they're of elementary school age, 9 out of 10, they're going to repeat it because they repeat. But we need to have a positive attitude. Mumble under your breath. Talk about it with someone else later during the day. But for the kids, and that goes with the teachers too, we get, you have lives, you have families, like I was saying, but at the same time, teachers also, when you're on the screen or when you're with the kids, just try to have a positive attitude, because they're going to see that and they're going to pick up on that as well. So also check with your district to see if they have a plan for teachers to unplug. So we all know that a lot of districts, and if not all, should have a plan for the students, at least a social emotional committee on acclimating our students back and how they're going to be, because first and foremost, we need to make sure everyone's okay. But a lot of times people don't think to ask the district, hey, you know what, just curious, how are you supporting our teachers to unplug? because we could tell the teachers and the staff, oh, you know what, you're having a hard week, just go home and like have a glass of wine and just relax. And it doesn't happen. We all know that as parents, as adults within the home, we know that doesn't happen. We might have the plan by the afternoon that we're going to go home and maybe sit and have a couple minutes peace, watch a show, have a glass of wine, maybe take a bath, and then laundry happens and dinner happens and work happens and homework happens, and for teachers lesson plans happen, and trying to catch up with anything or thinking, oh my gosh, you know what, I haven't seen such and such on the screen in a while. People don't unplug. And we need to make sure that our districts are emphasizing that for our teachers, because they may just say, oh no, you have to take care of yourselves, but we need to bring that back where teachers and all of us in general feel that to unplug, it's not only okay, but it's supported and it's required. So working together. So our kids, like I said, are going to follow by example during this pandemic. So we need to work with our teachers, even at the beginning of the year. If you have a conversation and just say, look, we need to work together. And I know that's my reoccurring theme throughout this, but we need to work together for these students because this is something new. This is something scary. It's something different. And we can talk about things or issues later on, but we need to put some positive energy out there for our kids. Now, it is okay every once in a while to just be a person. They need to see that, and I'll go over that at the bottom. But our kids are going to follow our example through this. If we're sitting there and we're miserable about it all the time, they're going to be miserable. So things we can do to support our students. So as parents and teachers, as adults in the home, caregivers, teachers, things that we all do to support our students. First of all, make sure they're prepared for their day. And every student's day looks different because right now we have virtual learning, we have hybrid, we have in-school learning where two of my children are in, two of them are in school every day. The other two are supposed to be going every other day. And it just depends on the age. But make sure that they have everything. If you know that your child has a device that they use in school, make sure when they come home, they have a dedicated place to plug it in, because the teachers are going to appreciate that the next day. The kids are going to be set and they're going to have that dedicated space so they know that that is part of their schedule where they come home and that's the routine. They unpack, they plug in their Chromebook or their laptop, and they move on. So teachers don't have unlimited chargers at school. So that's one thing. If your kids are virtual, make sure that they have everything set. Make sure that they have a device, a quiet place. Quiet places don't exist in my house. Make sure if they need a notebook, if they need a pencil, if they need supplies, make sure they have everything that they need just to go through their day. Let them know it's okay to struggle. So a lot of times we try to be brave for our kids. We all do it. There have been times where we do, especially during this pandemic. And I know throughout this I've said, oh, we need to follow by example. We need to be positive. But at the same time, our kids all need to know that we're all humans. Teachers, parents, everyone, we're all humans going through this. And it's okay to say, you know what, today's just a hard day. This is difficult, but it's okay. And it's going to move forward. So let them know that, you know what, it's fine. You're having a hard time being on the computer. I get it. I know this is something new for you. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through this. And it's okay. And we'll work through it and we'll get through it. And that's the best thing. We need to be able to humanize ourselves, and teachers need to humanize themselves towards our students. Just the students need to know that as well, that it's okay to struggle. So have patience and understanding. So I said this about the teachers earlier, where you need to have patience, but we all need to have some patience with our students and understanding, because there might be, and you might hear it virtually, and if your kid is on, there might be kids who are being disruptive. There might be kids that are in the class, but you never hear them. And this goes for teachers as well. You never know what's going on during this. You never know how a kid is going to handle it, how a student's going to handle it. So besides having patience for the adults as well, have some patience and understanding for the students as well, because like I keep saying, this is new to them as well. And you don't know what a home life is. You don't know, like, their safe space could have been being in school, and that was taken away for months. And even just seeing a friendly face on the computer during the day, that could mean the world to them. And they may not be engaging that often, but just understand that everyone is going through something different. Acknowledge the inequities in education for our students. There's something about this virus that has definitely brought the inequities to the forefront. So we have seen that everyone says, oh, well, just we can do online learning. There are a lot of comments out there saying, well, this online learning is great. This is the future of learning. But you can't have this as a future of learning if there are students who don't have the resources to learn this way. Not everyone has internet access. Not everyone has access to a device. Not all districts are able to provide them. There have been, and we've all seen it in the news, pictures of, there were, I think, 2 siblings who went to a Taco Bell for the internet access sitting outside. There's students who have gone and worked outside their school building because they need internet access, or going to the parking lot of a local library. That's hard for kids and families, because you're leaving your home and you have to make plans to be there for an extended period of time. And that's something where every student across the board, every single one, should be able to have the same opportunities. And without acknowledging, all of us acknowledging that this is an issue, it's not going to help. So working together, we need to work together as a team also to continue to advocate for resources. So a lot of districts, they've had to worry about, okay, do we have enough protective equipment? Do we have enough masks? Do we have enough hand sanitizer? Do we have the proper guidelines that we need to do in order to have people in the building? Are we secure enough during the day and taking all precautions so we don't have any cases in the building that might spread out to the public, to our community? We need to continue to advocate for resources, for financial resources for our district, even now, I hate to say, but for PPE for our districts. This is all new. And we can't just kind of go by the wayside now and say, well, we can't worry about that now. This is the time to be worrying about this and keep moving and advocating for our students and for our districts and for every single solitary child across New York State. Okay. Some additional resources, and this is my last slide. New York State and National PTA have some really great resources on their sites. They have gone through and done resources for parents, checklists on things that you can do for your children, things that you can help, the same with teachers. We also have on New York State and PTA.org, we have great resources for your units, like how to handle meetings, how to handle Zoom conferences, things like that. New York Project Hope, they are great with mental health resources, government resources. They will go through basics. They will also have mental health resources. That is one thing at the top of your list, and at the end of the day, our kids' social emotional welfare has to be first. Because if they're not okay through this, if they're not getting what they need, or at least allowed to vent it or do what they need to, the other pieces are going to fall. So I am going to stop sharing right now. Okay. So I thank all of you for signing up for my virtual workshop. I'm sorry that I couldn't answer any questions. However, if anyone does have any questions or wants information on resources or wants to have a conversation, by all means, you can reach me at outreach@newyorkstatepta.org, or you can call me or text me 315-247-0845. So thank you very much, and thank you for participating in our New York State PTA conference this year.